Welcome, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to yet another podcast episode here at the Young Democrats of Georgia Black Caucus. My name is Devontae Jennings. I am your chairman and your host, and here is where we give a platform to Black community organizers, elected officials, and business professionals all across the great state of Georgia. And my favorite thing to say is our special guest, but this one right here, this is the most well-known non-elected official in the Capitol. If you're in the Capitol, you work in the Capitol, you know the face, you know exactly who he is. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Justin Kirnon. What's up, brother man?
How you doing, Devontae?
I am doing real good. Now we finally got you on the platform. You know what I mean? Been waiting to amp this up, get you on. So thank you for blessing us with your presence and being here right now. And just to kind of jump straight into it and kick it off, let's just go ahead and let people know a little bit who you are, what you do, and why you are so well known at the Capitol.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity. Like you mentioned, my name is Justin Kirnon. I'm a lobbyist with Capital City Public Affairs and also a political consultant. Do a little bit in the campaign space as well, political strategist. And I'm the founder of an organization called the Caucus, which brings all types of people, Black people that are interested in politics. So we're bringing together lobbyists, legislators, other elected officials, community organizers, as well as people in the community that just have an interest in politics, because whether you're interested in politics or not, politics is still interested in you. And so it was important for me to just put together that coalition of people and build an organization around it, because all of those different groups network and have conversations in their silos. But if we can bring all of those people together, we can amplify voices. We can see what naturally and organically happens with the diversity of that type of group together. And so I guess you said, how did I get started?
Get straight into it. How'd you get started? That's a perfect one.
That's kind of, so I was living in Chicago, and I'm gonna age myself, but the gray hair in my beard does that already. But I was living in Chicago after I finished undergrad, and this was in 2008 or 2000. It was 2007, 2008 when President Obama was running for office the first time. And just the energy in Chicago was absolutely crazy. I was working in sales at the time. If you remember, at that time, we were also in the midst of a recession. So was not a lot of job opportunities and things of that nature at that time. But I was working in sales in the steel distribution industry, and I knew I didn't want to do that. And I started going to different campaign events and rallies, and I kept trying to volunteer on the campaign, and I couldn't. Every time you went to volunteer, everything was booked up. You would show up and they were like, "Oh, we don't have a need for any additional volunteers today," and everything like that. But I just started paying really close attention and trying to connect, and then I realized this is what I want to do. Had an epiphany, at that moment, and I thought back to all of these different points in my life when I was a small kid, Nelson Mandela got out of jail, and we went downtown in New York, and we saw him. There was a ticker tape parade for him, and then I was living in New York when New York elected its first Black mayor, David Dinkins, and then living in Stone Mountain when Chuck Burris, who was the first Black mayor of Stone Mountain, got elected, and then seeing the first Black president. It was like, yo, I'm seeing all of these first Blacks. Like, I can see myself in this space with all of these first Black people doing. Like, I guess politics is something that I can do. And a lot of times we don't know what we can do unless we see other people in it. So I quit my full-time job in Chicago, moved back to Georgia, went back to Valdosta State University, got my master's in public administration. And my last semester of grad school, I had to do an internship. And so I ended up applying for an internship with State Representative Yasmin Neal, whom I knew from college. And and so ended up being an intern for her during special session. And I had convinced my grad advisor that I can turn a 3-week special session internship into a full semester internship. So I guess that was my first foray into lobbying. And he accepted my challenge to do so. And I ended up working for the House Democratic Caucus. And that's when Stacey Abrams was first elected to the House Minority Leader, and she was building out a team. And so I was an intern in that office for about 6 weeks, and then that turned into a full-time job. I became the Director of Public Engagement, and then I did that for about 2 years, and then I became a lobbyist with the Georgia Municipal Association. I did that for 5 years. And then I became the government relations manager at MARTA for just under a year. Worked at Troutman Pepper, which is a contract lobbying firm attached to one of the largest law firms in the country. Worked there for about 2 years. Then stepped away from lobbying for a few months to be the political director on the Abrams campaign. And then after that, I became the vice president of government affairs at Capital City Public Affairs, where I am now. And so that's a little, I guess, pathway to how I got to this point where I'm at now.
So you've literally deep rooted in politics, and it's kind of obvious to tell because I didn't know you were a lobbyist when I first met you, other than your badge, but just the comfortability that you have, like interacting with elected officials. And I feel like, sometimes lobbyists are, try to shun away from, or they're like trying to duck and dodge, but you're definitely one of those ones that are like, hey, Justin, what's happening? Like, you come into the office. So that's like really makes a lot of sense on you're coming up in politics. And if we could switch over into your campaign management skills, which I remember at the Capitol, you said you don't do campaign management for everybody. That is something that you have to earn, or you must really love the platform. So can you speak on your experiences just as a all that experience?
So back in, I guess, 2011 or 2012, after 2012, and it was after the legislative session ended, our caucus staff became campaign staff. At the time, Leader Abrams had a vision on how to flip seats all throughout the state. And so pretty much our roles just transferred, and then we started working on campaigns. I'd never really worked on campaigns before. And that actually ended up playing out to our advantage, because got a chance to really figure things out as we were on the ground, and we used some very non-traditional methods that ended up working. We targeted 7 seats, and we ended up flipping 4 of those 7 seats. So we were successfully able to not only prevent a supermajority in the House, but we picked up several Republican seats as well to start building upon that. And now we had 62 seats. Then we ended up with 66, and then kept building from that. Now there's 80 Democrats in the House, and so that trajectory kept going. But so from that experience, just kept doing some work in the campaign space until becoming the political director for the Abrams campaign. So I was not the campaign manager, but I managed the political aspect of the campaign. So helping manage the political relationships, and then managing a team of political directors that were deployed all throughout the state. I was very happy being a lobbyist. Did not think I would go back into the campaign space, but when Leader Abrams called, it was a no-brainer at that time to take that position. For me, it was very important to give back to a person that gave so much to me. She was the first one to pay me for political work in Georgia. So the fact that she gave me my first job in this space, and then she was instrumental in me becoming a lobbyist. I made mention to her that I wanted to be a lobbyist. And so she started introducing me to a lot of the lobbyists at the Capitol, a lot of which I'm still connected to this day. And then she told me about a job at the Georgia Municipal Association, said, I can't get you a job, but I can tell them you're interested in and get you to interview, and the rest is history. So when she asked me to be her political director, that was a no-brainer for me to step away and manage that team and do that work. Outside of that, I do strategy and consulting work, but running or working as a high-level staffer on campaigns is extremely exhausting. It's extremely tiring. It's a lot of work. I'm getting old, and I have a kid, and so spending that family time is extremely important. And so, it's not something that I do often. It's only something I do if it's either a candidate that I really believe in, or if it's a situation that I think is just a really, really good fit at the time.
Which makes sense too. And I remember during the intern and AIDS luncheons that y'all are starting to host every Thursday at the Capitol, you had mentioned that you can be a lobbyist and also working on campaigns as well. Can you help make more sense of that for people who weren't in that room at that time? How do you kind of make it work if you're a lobbyist and doing campaign work?
Yeah, most of what we do in that space. So as a lobbyist, most of what you do is through January through the end of session. So whether that be March or April, that's when the intensive part of lobbying is done. That's when the legislature is in session. That's when we're down at the Capitol doing that type of work. If you don't have clients that are in that local government space where you're lobbying local governments or doing local government procurement work, during the off season or that time period in which we're out of session, some people fill that time with doing campaign work, or some people try to just continue their lobbying work through relationship building, attending conferences, things of that nature. And then sometimes there's time and flexibility for you to be able to do both.
And that makes a lot of sense to me. When we're talking about being a lobbyist, there's different opinions about lobbyists, and people have different views about them. Can you give me one myth about lobbyists that you can debunk? And more so, let's say lobbyists specifically that you in your lane of lobbying, not the other ones.
And so one of the myths is that that lobbyists bribe people into voting for things that they're trying to get passed. Georgia ethics laws don't allow for that to happen. You cannot give campaign contributions during session, and the most amount of money that you're able to spend is $75 per person per day, and so that's like the price of a meal. And that's what we do mostly. I don't give like gifts and all of that other stuff. You take folks out to dinner, but when I take people out to dinner, like, we're not even talking about legislation and all that other stuff. I'm doing that to build a relationship. I'm doing that to get to know the legislator as a person. I want to know who you are. Are you married? Do you have children? Where'd you go to school? How'd you grow up? What are your interests outside of politics? And so just getting to know the person and building relationship and building rapport, that's very important in our line of work, because this is a relationship business. Everything is done based on relationships, and having those relationships does not mean that someone is always going to agree with you. What it does mean is that you hope that you can trust whatever they tell you, whether they say, I'm with you, or I can't rock with you on this one. Holler at me when you got another bill. But you need to be able to believe them when we're doing our counts, when we're counting our votes and making sure that everything is aligned for what we're trying to get done.
Which makes a lot of sense to me. Going back to the intern aid luncheon that y'all are hosting every Thursday, why do you think it's important to do something like that? And I feel like I haven't seen it yet, really, with anybody that's just specifically being like, this is for aides and interns to sit here, enjoy a meal, and comment. Why is that important to do?
Yeah, so I was honored to participate in that last week. I thought it was a great idea. It was hosted by Representative David Wilkerson out of Cobb County, and his chief of staff, Ebenezer. They're the ones that put that together, and invited myself and another lobbyist, Chris Bruce, to attend to speak. And I was honored to be able to participate in that. I think it's a great idea because basically we are being who we wanted to see when we were in those roles. Coming from a person that was an intern, there were no lunch and learns, and lobbyists didn't come and talk to us and tell us more about their profession. I was able to build some of those relationships individually, but it wasn't done in that same method. And it's important because the people in that room, all of the aides and the current interns, those are our future legislators. Those are our future lobbyists. Those are the people that, are the future political leaders in Georgia. And so it's important for us to establish those relationships and to have those type of conversations and to serve as a mentor of sorts so that we can help to bring those people in. I don't believe in gatekeeping. I didn't even know I could be a lobbyist, right? And so when people come to me, it's like, hey, I think that's something I'm interested in. You want to shadow me? You want to connect? Like, let's have a conversation so that if you think that you want to be in this world, I can give you the access and the information that you're looking for so that you can make that decision. Because when I was in undergrad, I didn't know any lobbyists, and I could be one. And so I just want to make sure to keep the door open and allow people to access this amazing industry. I can't see myself doing anything else. I love what I do. And so I try to just be there for people.
Which shifts me back into your co-founding of the Ebony Caucus. Can you give us a little bit more backstory on that? What made you what made y'all started? What's the purpose behind it, and where do you see the direction of it going?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't take full credit. I'm the co-founder of the Ebony Caucus. My fiance, it was actually kind of her idea. Basically, there was a week in which I received phone calls from a lot of people in different spaces. So I received a phone call from a lobbyist looking for a field organizer, someone that does grassroots type work. And then I received a phone call from, someone that works on campaigns looking for connection with lobbyists. And then I received a call from a legislator looking to connect with some people in the campaign space. And then I received a call from someone in nonprofits looking to connect with somebody else. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I don't know what's going on this week, but I'm getting calls from these people in all of these different spaces. And I'm talking through it with my fiance. And she was like, y'all don't all know each other? Like, it's all politics, right? And I said, well, kind of, but, it's very different. And I pointed out that all of these groups usually network within their own individual silos. Mm-hmm. And so there's not a group that allows a lot of that crossover. And so came up with the idea of hosting a networking event to bring all of these people into the same space. And so we did that in November. We held it at the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurship in Atlanta. And it was a very successful event. And it did exactly what we intended it to do, which was allow people to get into the same space and get to know one another, start building relationships, start having conversations. We'll see where it goes from there. Based on that, I think this is a wonderful opportunity to allow organic growth and see what comes out of it. But we're going to host another event in March. I'm trying to lock down the venue in the next couple of weeks so that we can start promoting that event. But one of the things that we want to do with that is not only just have opportunities to converse, but for instance, I do lobbying work, but I also need people in other spaces. And if I have those needs, other people have those needs too. So let's connect that and utilize our resources as a community. We don't really have to go outside of our networks for a lot of things once you start to know what people do. And so some of it is just about building community, keeping our money circulating within our community. For all of those purposes. I need caterers for events. I don't know a bunch of caterers. It would be nice to know more caterers so that when I'm sponsoring lunch for the aides, I can call, this Black-owned business and connect them and do that. And so I just felt that it was important to bring all of these different groups together. And so we want to network, but outside of networking, we also want to start educating the community on how the legislative process works. on the state, on the federal,
Mm-hmm.
state, and the local level, because there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of misinformation. I was speaking at an event earlier this afternoon, and someone was asking one of the state commissioners, the agriculture commissioner, about a federal issue. It was like, oh, well, the federal government is doing this. What are you going to do about that? And it was like, that's not me. That's the federal government. Yeah, but what are you going to do? But that's not me. And so there's a lot of people don't really understand or know all of the different levels. They just say, oh, it's the government. And it's like the government is shrouded in this one big mass, and there's a lot of different layers to it. And so one of the things we want to do is break down those barriers, have people understand that, and show them how accessible your elected officials are. You spent a lot of time at the Capitol, Devontae, and I'm sure before you started working in this world, you didn't know that like elected officials were so accessible, and they're regular, they're people, they're us. You know what I'm saying? And so like people don't realize that. They feel that there's this that elected officials are these untouchable beings, and they're just not.
Mm-hmm. I think that was the biggest shocker to me, was just really being like, wow, like you could really just pull up here and be like, where they at? Oh, that's where we're going. And speaking again on that Ebony Caucus, I definitely need everybody to pull up to it. David, our elected officials liaison, popped out to your first one, and he spoke very highly of it. And I was like, dang it, I missed it. Not gonna miss it again. So I'm gonna definitely make sure I'm tuned in on that one. To go,
make sure you have the information in advance.
He was talking about it. I was like, dang, bro, you ain't let me know. Like, he's like, bro, I just saw it and I went. I was like,
so there was life was just really like lifing at that time, and so I didn't promote it really hard. I posted it on my Instagram a couple of times, and to get that amount of to get that amount of support on an event that I just really just posted on I don't even think I posted on Facebook. I think it was just like 2 IG posts. I mean that shows that people are really interested in connecting in that way. And so if we can promote it more and get it out to more avenues and share it more widely, I know that the next one in the future events can be even more successful.
Yes, and I think it has to do with people wanting to network, and then also too, it's like Justin is like that alone. I would be like, okay, I'll pop in out. I actually remember seeing you in Savannah during the GLBC convention, and for some reason that really stuck out to me as well, because at that point I knew you were a lobbyist, and I was just kind of thinking to myself like, why, like you don't have to be here, but you're like you're still in the mix with these people, still fostering the relationships. Does that go into a lot of your mentality, and how you already are lobbying, is like really building those genuine connections and really continue to show support to people outside a session where you don't really need them?
Yeah, no one likes that cousin that only calls when they need something. Right. And so
Yeah.
if the only time you're interacting with people is during session when you need their vote, or if you need them to help you kill a bill, that's I don't rock like that. That's not relationship. That's transactional. I prefer relationships. And so if there's legislators present at an event or at a conference, I try my best to be present when I can. And then that particular event was important for me to support because it was hosted by the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus. And I feel that it is our duty as Black lobbyists to make sure that we support the GLBC. A lot of other people won't do it, or they'll support by way of a contribution, but won't support with your time. I want to do both. I'm going to contribute, I'm going to sponsor, and I'm going to pull up. And it means a lot to your members when that happens. And there were not many lobbyists that were present at that event, at that conference. And so it was very memorable to be one of just a few people that were present, in that space. And it did go a long way, and the chairman still, I'll call him, was like, hey, Mr. Chairman, I need, I got some folks that need to meet with you. He was like, hey, you show up for me, I'm gonna show up for you. I may not vote with you, but I'll at least meet with you and talk to you. So, but and that's what you want is access. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
then also, even if I do have business to discuss, at those type of events, I get a chance to do that where the person that has the opposing view or that's lobbying against me on an issue, they're not there. I'm there, and so you're going to hear from me, and you're going to hear what I have to say on the issue. And for other folks, and that was, what month was that in?
Summertime. I want to say,
Yeah,
like August.
August. I just remember it was ridiculously hot.
It was.
So
It had to be like
that was in August, right? The session is in January. I know the bills, a lot of the bills that I'm already working on. So if I pull up, and I talked about sports betting at the conference. Like I made sure to mention, all of the things that I was working on as it relates to that. There's 236 members of the General Assembly. I'm not trying to wait till January to talk to folks about the issues that I have. So I'm gonna take opportunities throughout the year to do so.
He said, "I'm gonna meet you in Savannah. I'm gonna be there." I think I saw you on the boat. I was like, "What the world?" I was like, "Lobbyists pull up to stuff like this."
This one does.
I love that one. So if you could, what is one thing you wish somebody would have told you when you were starting out that you now have the opportunity to tell someone just starting out?
That you belong. That you belong. When I started lobbying, there were not that many that looked like us. And there was even fewer Black women. And so you're in a room. At the time, I was always the youngest person in the room. I was always the darkest person in the room. And so when you're in those spaces, if you're not confident in who you are, if you're not comfortable, you can question whether or not you belong in this space, especially when in some of those spaces, people overlook you. And then you try to figure out, like, are you being dismissive to what I'm saying because of my age? Or is it because of my color? Or is it because you don't think I know what I'm talking about? Like, what is it? And so understanding and knowing without a shadow of a doubt that you belong in every single room that you're in is vastly important in this industry, even today. And so all of you young people that are in these rooms, all of you, if you're a lobbyist, I'm going to be 100% just real with you. There are not many firms that have more than one lobbyist on their team. Whether it's an association, whether it's a corporation, whether it's a contract firm, most places have one Black person. And so you will likely be the only Black person on your team. I've been in this industry. I've been lobbying for over 10 years. I've never had a Black lobbyist as a coworker. I've never had a Black lobbyist as a partner. And so there's a lot more of us, which means a lot of organizations are hiring, but most of them are still just hiring one person at a time. And so, it's important to know that if you're in that space, you belong there, and take up as much space in those rooms as you can and be your authentic and genuine self. I rock a full beard. I got my hair all and I do that, and it's me. And like, we're going to redefine what you consider professionalism, and they going to have something to say about it. And guess what? I don't care. You're going to still listen to these words that are coming out of my mouth. And I just need to know, are you with me? You gonna support my bill, and you gonna vote against me, and then we can keep it moving. But they're gonna comment and all that stuff. You just keep it moving. Like, be yourself in all of those spaces, and you belong.
Dang. I love the words, man. And I don't know every Black lobbyist in the Capitol, but I definitely can tell that
I can introduce you to them.
Okay. I was about to say, I feel like there's a group of y'all that I'm like, and there's a mutual respect and love, and there's like none of this competitionally, like, I'm the black lobbyist here. Like, no, it's always, every time I walk past y'all are always talking, chopping it up, and it's good vibes and feels good. I know you got a lot to do, so we're about to close out here soon, but I do want to ask you one more question and see if we get some breaking news here. When are you running for office?
That was funny. I thought she had a real question. I thought she was trying to get some, no.
I saw CNN. Everybody was like, "Yep, for mayor."
I did enjoy that experience on speaking and being participating in that interview on CNN. As far as running for office, what I can say is that's not on my agenda at the moment. What I will say is I enjoy having the influence and I get to work on legislation. I get to do all of these things. And the sign of a good lobbyist, one of my former managers said this, and it just really stuck with me. A sign of a good lobbyist is someone that can walk on wet cement and not leave footprints. And so my job is to get stuff done. I don't care if I get credit for it. There's a lot of legislation that that happens here that a lot of us are responsible for, and you won't necessarily know, and our names won't be connected to it, and that's fine. I don't do all of this stuff just to get notoriety for things and all of that stuff. When I was doing association work and all of that, and now that I'm on the well, I work for, my clients are corporations, they're nonprofits, they're universities and things of that nature. And I do the work because I enjoy what I do. But the benefit of being a lobbyist instead of an elected official is, like, I could have a bill, get that bill passed, and do all of that stuff, and no one is going to stop me in the grocery store and ask me, why did you do that? No one's going to say, why'd you do sports betting, or, why'd you get funding for body cameras, or no one's gonna, and then my child is shielded from that stuff, and so is the rest of my family, and so I don't have to have that same level. I get the access to, folks. I get the influence without having to do all of those other things. And if I'm an elected official, like, what am I gonna do for money? Like, this is what I love doing. I got to change jobs if I run for office. I don't want to change jobs.
Yeah, that's the part I didn't think of before I asked. Like, hold up, wait a minute. Why
I got a good thing going over here. I'm over here. I
don't know. Hold up, we've been doing this for 10 years now. Let's pump the brakes, man.
We still building. So at this point, that's not on my agenda. I just want to keep growing all of the things that I have going on now. Kirnon Consulting, which is my political consulting and political strategy firm, the Ebony Caucus, and then the work that I do as a lobbyist. Have enough to focus on without having to deal with running for office at the moment.
I totally agree. I ain't even mad. It was worth the ask, though.
So I knew you was gonna set me up when you was like, is there anything I can't ask you, anything off limits? I should have known it was something.
Hey, I was like, as soon as he said that, I said, we're gonna ask. We're gonna break news here. We're going viral with this one.
And there is no news to be broken in this moment.
Continue to be everybody's favorite lobbyist.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you are the well-known face in the Capitol that's not an elected official by far. Like, everyone knows that. Even if they don't know the name, they're like, oh, the beard. Yeah. So we're all good on that one. But I do want to appreciate you for taking time out of your busy schedule to even sit down with the Young Democrats of Georgia Black Caucus to have a conversation with us. We love all the work you're doing and the access you're allowing some of our members in the Capitol that meet you. You're just like, hey, whatever, take my number, take my email, what you want, holla at me. So I can definitely vouch for and say you live by everything that you say. We appreciate you, and we look forward to hopefully a lot of good work, coming soon with the Ebony Caucus. But the floor is yours before we close out. Last words, man.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for sharing your platform with me and allowing me to come on here and speak. And I appreciate the work that the like the caucus that you guys have formed did not exist when I was younger, and so I'm thankful for, you guys just, not just having ideas, but actually just working, and putting in the work to actually build. So I just want to say thank you. And I want to just take a moment to just honor all of the young folks in the space that are just doing things and being unafraid and just stepping in and making things happen, because you are the future of this state. And the younger generation tends to get beat up on a lot, but from what I see, from the work with a lot of the people that I'm interacting with, from a lot of the interns, and from just a lot of the people that are just now starting their careers in this space, there's a bright future ahead for a lot of you. And just keep grinding, do it your way. Some of us aren't gonna understand it. I'm in that like I'm in the in that level now, and so like I get it, like so it's different, and so I get it. I have to catch myself, because y'all aren't gonna do things the same way, that we did it, and but just keep blazing your own path and just keep doing it. Just don't stop.
Yes, sir. And if y'all would like to follow Justin on Instagram, you see it scrolling at the bottom. But if you're going to listen to this on Spotify, it is jk.speaks. Again, that is at jk.speaks on Instagram. Tap in with them. And hey, pull up to the Capitol and you'll see them on the phone talking to somebody, on the phone or talking to somebody. Justin, thank you again for kicking it with the Young Democrats of Georgia Black Caucus, my brother. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well.
All right, man. Peace.
Thank you.